And yo, the Sports Bag Bros podcast is back on a Thursday. If you haven't seen us before, you have to know that Mondays and Thursdays is typically the time we do the podcast. We had done some live broadcast in the past, but I think we'll go back to the recorded version, which is better. Anyways, we got a lot to talk about today. I guess football season coming around, but we talk about a multitude of sports. And one of the news stories that just popped up came in the sport of boxing. And of course, Jake Paul is involved, and Jake Paul being the mainstream guy that seems like everyone knows, whether it's boxing or otherwise, because he's mainstream, he decides to take on Tank Davis. Another clown show. Was good.
What's good? First of all, if you're watching this show, it probably isn't Thursday. We record the show on Thursday, but the show drops on a different day. Anyway, get that out of the way. It is a clown show because the disparity, Jake is like 6'2", 6'3", maybe. Tank is maybe 5'6". I mean, forget about the weight. Forget about the weight. The height difference, the reach difference.
Everything different.
Jake Paul would have to be the dumbest motherfucker around if he lost to Tank Davis. All he has to do is stick out his hand. How's Tank going to get close to him? Keep the jab out there. It'd be like a little brother trying to get at his big brother with his hand on his head.
He's swinging.
Come on, man. I know he's trying to be a pro boxer, but is he really? The only real pro boxer he fought, Chavez Jr. don't count. He had been retired for how many years? Beat him. He lost. He lost to Fury. So if he fighting an actual boxer who's 100 pounds weighs less, 100 pounds less, and is like 6 to 7 inches shorter, what's that going to prove? I mean, if it was Pacquiao in his prime, I'd be like, okay, Pacquiao's going to bounce around, dart in and out. He might have a shot. Tank waits for his opponents to make mistakes and then hit him with a power shot. Is it really going to be a power shot on a heavyweight?
You know what? And I was talking to Andre the Boxer. He comes on this show as well. He boxes, a professional boxer, etc. And I talked to him about this very thing yesterday. And, we've been around the gym for decades. And I'll tell you what, though, I've seen several occasions, even though it was just sparring, where the lighter guy fought light heavyweights, and then absolutely embarrassed them, drubbed them, almost made these guys quit in the ring. It's a different animal when you're talking about someone with the amateur background that Tank has, the professional background that he has. Not that Jake Paul hasn't done much, but that experience accounts for something. And when you have a real dog, which Tank is, going and fighting a guy who's even bigger, at least a guy that, he's trading off. And the trade-off is you're dealing with a guy without a lot of an experience and not even a real pedigree for boxing, and you're going to go in with your pedigree and your championship experience and your power to fight this guy. I've seen a number of sparring sessions, and I keep on saying sparring sessions because I also heard this may be an exhibition, so it's not going on anyone's record just in case something were to happen. I understand that part. But I can see Tank comes in, maybe he doesn't have to cut the weight that he normally would cut otherwise. He could come in at 147, 154 pounds. He could be a problem for a bigger fighter without a lot of experience. All these years of experience, all these years of fighting, you get a callous to the punches that are thrown, even if it's a bigger guy. His experience level is so much ahead of what Jake Paul has that it's interesting at least. But to see it happen, it reminds me of one of these sparring sessions that I've seen younger guys win, or bigger guys getting beat up by smaller guys, much smaller guys.
I just don't see it. I mean, of course, Tank is levels above Jake.
So far, that's the trade-off.
I can't even tell you how many levels. But to be 100 pounds lighter, 6 or 7 inches shorter, the reach, the arm length going to be 8 to 10 inches shorter. I don't see – it's going to be boring, in my opinion. It's going to be boring because Tank is not a straightforward seek and destroy. I'm coming to get your ass. He's going to wait for you to make a mistake, and then he pounces. And if Jake has any brains in his head, he's not going to give Tank that opportunity.
But Jake, for all the time he's put in, he hadn't had an amateur career, so he's still learning on the job. His skill set is okay. In fact, I think he's close to probably hitting the ceiling of what his capabilities really are. And with that being the case, really just putting your hand out there for a shorter fighter and thinking that he can't get past it, there's much more to it than that. And does he even really know how to throw a jab with any consistency over the long term, trying to see if he can do that, if it goes 6 rounds? Can he effectively jab at someone like Tank, who's also a southpaw, and do something effective with it? His jabs aren't really that impressive right now. Tank has seen it, and he'll see it coming. The hand speed is not there. I mean, he has quick hands for a bigger guy. But when you're talking about a southpaw being able to nullify your jab, even if you're a taller fighter, a bigger fighter, and then he knows how to get in there, his punches will be effective. It'll take.
I'm just saying, if Jake is smart, anytime Tank gets close, all he has to do is smother him, grab him, lean on him. Everything Fury was doing to Wilder, but the size difference wasn't as great. Maybe weight, Fury was a lot heavier, but size-wise, if Paul is smart, anytime Tank gets close, come here, I'm gonna lean on you. But carry my 200 whatever pounds too. There's no way. There's no way. It's gonna be a boring ass fight.
Even that scenario is much easier said than done. Tyson Fury at least has an amateur background, has a pro background, was a world-class fighter.
Background.
Background. Well, it's a social issue now. He had a background. And Jake Paul doesn't have that background. Trust me, it's so difficult to line someone else up just to lean on him. You have to lean the right way. And now you're leaning on his softball.
When he gets close, he can grab him.
He can grab him. I mean, he's going to deliberately just hug him. Because if you're just leaning just to lean, of course, Tank knows what you're doing.
I'm not saying
slip to the side and come with the uppercut.
I'm not saying to lean like Buster Douglas dumbass throwing that uppercut from 8 feet away on Holyfield.
Oh, yeah, he didn't try to lean.
When Tank gets close enough, when Tank does get inside, he's right there. Smother him and hold him, and then lean on him. I'm not saying lean out trying to reach for him.
Based on the way he fought Fury, the way that Jake Paul fought Fury, he didn't even know how to clinch. He didn't, these are things you have to learn. I hear people in these groups, all he has to do is hug him. Bro, it's clinching, man. It's not freaking hug him. And you got to know how to do it. You just don't come in because he's within arm's reach. You can just grab on him and, you can do that, but then the ref is going to kind of warn you, but you also can do it clumsily. And while you're trying to do it, you can get countered, which Tank is a counter puncher. He also could be offensive because I've seen him do that before, more in videos than actual fights because he hadn't had to do it. But I'm just thinking that, Jake Paul how much better has he gotten from fight to fight? He's much better now than he was when he first started, but because he's not overly talented anyway, he's not world-class talent-wise. I know he's going to get the publicity as if he's world-class talent-wise, and I rock with him getting his money the way he's getting it and picking the fights he's picked. But if he were to fight someone like Tank who has all of that experience, he knows how to counter someone who's even attempting to carelessly or recklessly clinch him. And,
I can't rock with him. I can't rock with him. Not when the only real boxer he's fought beat him, and then they want to rank him.
Well, he did for rankings. For all intents and purposes, he did beat Chavez. He's been retired and all that stuff. Ray Leonard was retired before Camacho came back and beat him. So being retired or being inactive for a long time doesn't take away what
Trav. Does he deserve to get ranked?
Who? Oh, no. I'm not saying he deserves to get ranked. I'm saying, but he fought these guys.
I'm all for it. You get your money, sell your pay-per-views, your streams, do all of that. But don't tell me you're a real boxer.
No, don't. He does not deserve to get ranked.
And then the commission ranks you because you beat a dude who was never shit, had a chance to win the belt, couldn't get the job done. Dude was on Queer Street, couldn't finish him, and was basically a disappointment in his career.
It was all about the commission, though. Was it more Jake Paul or about the commission? Boxing is always going to follow the money. I'm just saying,
don't sell me a circus and then tell me that it's reality.
You know what? All this time, I guess, with people been calling it a circus, and they've still been following more and more people. He's still making more than boxers who put their life into it. I mean, and he's multiplying the amount they've made doing what he's doing. And, another thing about Jake Paul and the fighters he's choosing, there's something to be said, even if he's fighting someone who hasn't boxed before, but they've been an MMA fighter, the preparation that goes into having the mental preparation to go into these fights matters a lot. Knowing not to lose your conditioning because of the nerves, that does matter. And he's not mastered it, but hell, he's going through it. He's going through it. So even though these guys that he's fought hadn't been boxers, but they've been in the fighting environment, MMA, another fighting combat environment, it does take something to prepare for those fights mentally just as much as physically. And he's been winning those fights. Now he lost to Huey Fury, and that was it was a problem. I mean, that was neither one of them extremely talented. It's just that the best guy that night won. But at the same time, look at all the other people that we've seen in the past, all these other great fighters, they had to start somewhere. What I didn't like about other people getting pissed off at Jake Paul by his third or fourth fight, why don't you fight Canelo? Why don't you fight this top guy, that top guy? They're pissed off about how he's going about doing it, that they're completely irrational of how he should go about doing it. Because when Muhammad Ali, Cassius Clay fought Tony Hunsaker in his first fight, a police officer, nobody complained. When Floyd Mayweather fought Apodaca in his first fight, nobody complains. No one is going to complain about the first 5, even 10 fights you have, even as a top prospect trying to get a championship, because those are the guys you're supposed to fight to build a record, to build confidence, and to sharpen your skill set until you get to that world-class level. Jake Paul's doing it a little different, but it's not too far removed from these dudes.
You're giving him a huge pass. He's done it way different.
No, he's done it way, but he's still fought a former champ now. And
he's not fighting boxers. He's not fighting boxers. You can call it whatever you want. I don't care. Those guys in MMA, they can't kick. They can't choke you out. They can't do submissions. They put on these big gloves.
They knew that before they got in the ring with him.
Okay, but don't tell me he's building a boxing career when he's not fighing boxers.
He beat freaking Chavez. I can continue to say that. He was a former champ. And
a bunch of dudes beat Chavez.
Well, a handful of dudes, and he's the latest guy.
Cheerios and Apple Jacks beat Chavez.
And for someone who didn't have any amateur experience and someone who's mocked for doing absolutely nothing, he beats him. I mean, I thought that he would actually lose to Chavez, Jr., even now.
You would think he should have, but them Apple Jacks are a motherfucker. They beat Chavez.
Man, but in any event, man, Jake Paul fighting Tank, it would be an interesting fight only because of the name of the fighter, because it would be the first real fighter. It's almost like he's almost getting it, but he doesn't completely get it in terms of the respect from the people who are always going to be pissed off at him anyway. You think that if he would, because remember, he was talking about
I hope
Anthony.
I'm wrong. I hope Tank stretches his ass.
Oh, I'm rocking with Tank on that one. I'm rocking with Tank. And I don't typically rock with Tank.
100%. I just
think for boxing.
For people who are saying Paul, he's developing, he's this, he's that. He'll be a dumb motherfucker if he gets knocked out by that little dude in comparison to his size.
To his size, yeah, but you hear that story about Uncle Roger, how he knocked out his trainer, who was a big dude, and little Roger was like 125 pounds at the time. These dudes who know what the hell they're doing, man, they can knock out regular people. Now, is Jake Paul still a regular person, though? Has he had enough experience to where you could say, okay, he's a boxer? Because it doesn't really take much to be a boxer. Let's call it what it is. I know people like to say it takes a lot of guts to get in there. We've seen the kinds of people who've come through the pipeline over the decades to say the same thing, and you could really start eating a little bit of crow. Look at these guys. The dude who just walks into the ring with the mullet and acted a fool up in the ring and just eventually got knocked out in the first round. I mean, that was more crazy than gutful, than having guts. That was it. So I just know not everyone has guts to get in the ring. Some people just flat out crazy looking for clout.
That's 100% true. I mean, it does take guts to step through those ropes.
It takes guts, but sometimes you just don't.
What does that have to do with Tank fighting Paul? I don't understand.
No, I was just talking about how people claim that you have to have a lot of guts just to get in the ring. And in reality, you don't necessarily have to have a lot of guts. I think Jake Paul and Tank, I still think Tank can beat him. I think Tank could KO him, to tell you the truth, regardless of the weight difference. I think Tank can KO him. But can he KO Tank, though?
I don't know. I kind of think it does take guts to step through the ring. I mean, I've seen people after school where they're supposed to fight and the crowd gathers and like, are you guys gonna fight? Like they end up not fighting. And they don't
scared.
There's not even ropes you got to step through. There's no announcer. Like
I'm not saying
10 minutes ago,
across
you
the
guys
board.
were cussing each other out. Let's go, throw hands.
I'm not saying across the board because it does require guts, but I'm seeing in the past where there are guys who just got in the ring for the sake of getting in the ring. Maybe someone at the last second got taken out of the audience and they gave him $50, $100, or beers on the house afterwards, and they got in there not because of guts, maybe because there was another incentive. Buck Smith was one of those guys years ago. They took him out of the office because there was a guy who just didn't show up, and he fought a guy named Ali Smith. He lost a 4-rounder, but he had beers in the house, so he got into the ring because of it. Remember, I don't talk about it much, but I've gotten in the ring before, and I know what it takes to get in the freaking ring. I know the nerves that go into walking to the ring, the nerves of being in the ring, all those things. People handle it different ways. Like for me, yeah, the nerves was there. The more you do it, the more you get used to handling it and being able to cope with it. And going to the ring, bro, it used to just tear you apart. Like they say, you die 1,000 times. But then when I got in the ring, it was like nothing. Like the way I feel right now, not a worry in the world. That's how I felt when I got in the ring. Now, I don't know how other people might have felt or how they feel once they get into the ring, but we see these high profile guys, these major fighters like Floyd and all these other guys, and they're in the ring smiling because they've done it so many damn times. They know how to handle the nerves and all that kind of crap. Each fight gives you a better opportunity to do it. But
I still don't understand why we're talking about this and not Paul and
because we talked about that crap. And does Jake Paul have a chance to knock out Tank? Because the size differential does matter too. And
I don't know. I kind of feel the same way. Tank be a dumb motherfucker to get knocked out by Paul. Like, come on, man.
What would be more embarrassing? Tank get knocked out by a big dude?
Who's the top level boxer here? You can't let him land that shot.
But I mean, who is more embarrassed by a loss or getting stretched? Would Tank be more embarrassed if he got stretched by a bigger dude, or does Jake Paul get more ridiculed because he gets stretched by Tank? Because
I don't know. I can't really speak for either guy. I don't know. I don't know
social comments.
I don't know how fans are going to react. It could be 50-50. But Paul probably has more fans than Tank does, so those fans would be more upset.
But I think there are more people who probably dislike Paul, who probably aren't even boxing fans. They're just fringe fans of boxing, and they don't like him.
I would bet maybe 30 to 40% of Paul's fans, if not more, don't even know who Tank is.
And that's probably true because those guys are only tuned into him. And when the fight was announced, or it looked like a reality, because I believe it's November, they all got Wikipedia to look him up, and she looked at YouTube to see what this dude is about. Huh?
His fans were like, who?
Yeah, they probably were. That's why they went to Wikipedia to look it up, Box Rec, to try to figure out who this guy. Let's check out YouTube and see some of his fights.
They're probably like, well, he's too short to be a former basketball player. Did he play football or baseball?
Yeah, that was Jake Paul who knocked out Nate Robinson, right?
I don't know.
He knocked him unconscious, but he did like some
right. That's what I'm saying.
Bounced him off the ropes and just cracked him with one. Yeah, but I guess that's the damn. It shouldn't even be the big fight, and it's a November fight. And
we got a real fight coming up in a couple of weeks. We're gonna have to start making our plans on how we're gonna handle that.
Like one guy or not, it's a damn good fight. I know it's a fight that you don't have to take. A fight that doesn't have to happen. Bud doesn't have to take this fight. Canelo doesn't have to take this fight. It's a cash grab for one in Canelo's case because it took a lot of money to get him there. But for Bud, it's a legacy fight because he's jumping up in all these weight classes, and there's a huge difference. This dude started off at 130 pounds. Now he's going up to 168. And I see these pictures of him looking a little bigger, and you see the comments of people talking about how big he is. Man, making the weight and getting to that size is just a piece of the puzzle. It's a pretty damn big puzzle. It's more nuanced than that. Ask Charlo about that. I remember at the press conferences, I'm so much bigger than him. Look at that, man. I'm a grown man. I've been a grown man. And we saw what that grown man did for 12 rounds. Tried to survive. Now, I can't even imagine. And I know fatigue makes cowards of us. I know getting beat down may make a coward of people. We've watched boxing for so long. And I just can't. I've seen a lot of fighters, man, who talk tough and things went down and they didn't actually fight back the way you thought they would. I don't think Bud is that dude, man. I think Bud would just go down in his sword. You're going to have to put him to sleep.
I agree with that. But mentally, he's not your
He can't
average
get broken.
boxer. I mean, besides his skills, his skill set puts him above most fighters. But mentally, that dude, he has supreme confidence. It's gonna take a really good effort from Canelo to break him.
See, and once again with Canelo, he's like him or not, he's been as tough as they come. This dude hardly has ever been buzzed. He's fought everybody, and well, now in his later part of his career, he's picking and choosing. But he has a resume where he's been hit by every one of those dudes, and he hasn't really been buzzed. Now Triple G gave him a little bit of something, and we already know what kind of hands Triple G had, heavy hands, etc. But Canelo's been a tough SOB, and I can't even imagine Bud really hurting him. I just want Bud win the damn fight, But Bud says, he doesn't look for knockouts. He just in the flow of a fight. If it happens to come, it'll come in. A lot of boxers say that they don't press, and Bud fights like he doesn't press. In fact, look at the Porter fight. He didn't even know he was losing until he realized he was losing, and then he went out there and took care of business when they told him he was losing. So he just turned the switch on and put the fight to sleep. But with Canelo, the deal is he's going to hit Canelo with some hard shots at some point or another because of the faster hands, the smaller body, or being small at one point, and having more skills because more lighter guys typically have more skills than the heavier guy. And Canelo's going to still be there. And then Canelo's going to still be coming. We've seen him walk people down, and he could do it for 12 rounds because he relies on his chin, and he's going to hit you. And Canelo can still hit. That's going to be
Yeah.
the ill part, man.
So Bud obviously doesn't have the power of a
Nope.
168 guy, or guys like Kirkland or even Angulo. Guys that that have good knockouts on their records who didn't hurt Canelo. But as you alluded to, smaller guys usually have better skills. They have
Yeah.
quicker hands, and he may not be throwing with as much power, but he's gonna land sharper, crisper punches than those
Those
guys.
sharp punches, exactly. Those sharp punches take over from being just powerful. You learn that sharp, you land that sharp punch at whatever angle, and the punches that you don't see is what hurts you or knocks you out. I'm not saying Canelo's going to get knocked out, but he's going to feel some of those punches. But I've just seen him so often just eat it and just keep coming. I mean,
I tell
coming
you
off a
what, too,
shot.
if Bud can get that jackhammer jab going that he had against Errol Spence,
Keep him off balance.
right, and Canelo's eyes probably start to swell, maybe even close, maybe a
Yeah, he
bloody
doesn't get cut a
nose,
lot.
and you never know. When guys start to experience something or things they haven't experienced before, questions start coming up in their head.
And that's true because Canelo doesn't get cut a lot. I don't think I've seen him get swollen at all. He's gotten a little busted up because he just hangs in there. He takes punches from people he can take punches from, but I hadn't seen him get swole up at all. And after all this time and all the people he's fought, I don't think what hasn't he seen? I mean, really, what hasn't he seen? And Bud is going to be offense and defense, and Bud is going to be southpaw and orthodox, primarily southpaw. But man, I mean, if Canelo keeps coming towards him, he's going to have to box, and he knows that. He's going to box. He's going to move. He's going to be smart. He's not going to let his mind take over. He's not going to get weak and decide, I got to hit hard. The crowd responds. So I got to get him back. He can keep his composure. He's not like a lot of fighters. And that's what separates him a lot from these fighters of today. They hear the crowd saying, ooh, they got to get back. And in the process, get counted and might get hurt again. But the problem, I think, with him gaining all this weight so fast, when that 7th and 8th round come, which is inevitable because Canelo's going nowhere, those legs start burning with all the extra weight, all that sparring you did, all that work you did, all the weight you put on and thought you was good. That 7th, 8th, and 9th round, when you're just staying on your toes, he's beating him like Billy Conn was beating Joe Louis for all those rounds. And then those legs start freaking burning. Then what? I don't think that's going to break him, but that's going to set him up for Canelo to land harder punches and be more effective when he probably wouldn't have been that effective early on.
Well, it remains to be seen what weight Bud comes in. Like, is he really going to put on muscle to come in at 168? Or does he come in at 159, 160, which is more his walking around weight?
And that's true. And that is the weight limit. I think people, just for the record, 168 is the limit. So you can do anything. As long as you agree to the fight,
Come
it
in
doesn't
at
say the minimum. There is a
147 if he
maximum.
wants.
Bro, he can come in right now, like, just like in his last fight, 154 if he wants, if he feels good at it.
Right.
He wants to add a little, and you see the types of workouts. I've seen his workouts in the past when he's deadlifting 400 plus pounds. He's a former wrestler, so he has that dog strength inside, and his temperament. We've seen that over and over and over. And I see there's still people that don't give him credit for doing the things he's done in his career. They talk about how overrated he is in his last 5 fights and no better than some person they consider as a scrub. And I'm like, bro, you just don't get it. You got to watch how he methodically has gotten rid of these guys. And they bring up the Madrimov fight. And you know what? He moved up in weight, and Madrimov was a tough fighter, but, Virgil Ortiz took care of that business. But I'm just thinking that for this fight here, they're both slower. They're at their best form now. They're not in their prime, neither fighter, but they're at their best they could possibly be, kind of like Muhammad Ali and Joe Frazier in the Thriller Manila. They weren't in their prime, but they were at their best form at that time. And they can still put on a good show. But I'm still worried about Bud being able to jump around, walk around the ring, continue to move for 12 rounds, because that extra weight will tell on you in around 7, 8, and 9. And depending on what the hell Canelo's able to do to him leading up into that, is he get into the body? Is he hitting him a couple of times? We saw Chavez and freaking Taylor. Every 6 punches, Chavez lands that one. By the 9th, 10th round, they was like, what the hell happened to Taylor? We thought he was winning this fight easy. He has broken bones and everything else in his freaking face.
Yeah. I don't know. I just think, Bud getting to 147 had to cut weight. 154, maybe not so much. 168, weight is not an issue.
Nah,
so
just comfortable.
Yeah,
just be comfortable.
Right. So he's just going to work on his skills, fine tune everything he does. He doesn't have to worry about making weight. That's one less thing he has to worry about. So I think actually when he goes into the ring, he may be the most comfortable he's ever been in a fight. Just for not having perhaps, I got to lose 4 pounds in 2 days or 3 pounds in 1 day or whatever the case may be. That's one less worry. Doesn't have to change his diet. He's always in shape, so his diet is on point anyway. He just has to prepare himself for the fight.
Now, putting on some weight is going to matter. I don't think he wants to come in at 154. If the limit's 168, I think if he came in at 163. I don't think
he walks around 154, though. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, well, I'm thinking that if he walks
in, right, I think he's going to come in probably 160, 160.
If he comes, I think he just needs to put on the muscle to be able to take the impact of the punch. It's at some point in that fight, in an actual boxing match, he's probably going to get hit harder than he's ever been hit. At some point. And how often can he take those hits? He's like in the video games. You see the power go down depending on the punch they get hit with. How much of that power is going to go down when he gets hit by that official 168-pounder who's probably 175, 180 when the bell rings.
So if I'm a Canelo fan, I'm hoping he doesn't try and fight Bud like he fought Khan. Like, just hope to land that one shot. Just hope, like, I'm going to land that one shot and the fight's over. Because I don't see that happening. He might buzz Bud, but I don't think he's going to stretch him like that with one shot. So if he fights like that before he knows it, he could be down 60-54 on the cards going into round 7.
Well, I think that was designed when it came to Khan, because he knows Khan's chin is going to be what Khan's chin has been. And he knew you could see the way he fought. He wasn't really trying to.
Even against Odaz Kovalev, he kind of fought like that.
And against Kovalov, and that was a shot Kovalov. I'm not shot, but he was definitely not what he was normally, and he moved up in that weight class.
Sitting in the locker room for that fight, not on the back 9. He was already in the locker room.
But man was in the clubhouse, in the clubhouse having wine. Well, actually having vodka in his case. You hear about his stories out of the ring. But I'm just thinking with Bud, I'm just thinking that that the Bud doesn't have to be 168 like you said, but I think he does have to put on some weight, some muscle to be able to absorb that punch. When you're boxing, they tell you when you're younger and they're teaching you from the ground floor up, you keep your knees bent so that it takes the shock of the punch when you do get hit. as opposed to your knees being stiff, you get hit and the shock has nowhere to go. That's why you feel it so much in your head and your legs just go and you get knocked down or knocked out because of it. And I think Bud being able to absorb that 168-pound, probably 175, maybe 180-pound punch from Canelo on fight night, Bud's going to probably gain some weight too. But I think he's putting on muscle, but lean muscle, of course. You're not just putting on muscle to bulk up. You're actually just growing into your body. Even though at this age he's pretty much at 38 years old, you're growing into your body. But when you move up in weight class, you're kind of growing into that body that you have to take on a fighter like that. I'm thinking if he came in at 158 or something like that, his ability to take a punch from Canelo would not be the same if he just had 5 more pounds on.
That remains to be seen. But I don't know if this is being talked about a lot. We got to give Bud credit, not only for making this fight happen, but like not forcing a rehydration clause.
He doesn't do that kind of thing.
That's what I'm saying. All that bullshit that fans complain about that this fighter did or that Tank did to Garcia. Look at the difference between the Tank fight and the Haney fight with Ryan. I don't know what happened with the Rolly fight, but hey, you know what I'm saying? Bud's not saying, well, I'll fight you, but I need 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and then we'll make the fight happen. Bud's like, I want those belts. I'm coming for those belts.
That's it. It's a legacy fight for him. We saw it against Errol Spence, even though they're different between Errol Spence and Canelo. But we see the way Bud operates, the way he's been operating. It typically isn't even about the money. I mean, even at the press conference, before the fight, he's thanking Errol Spence for even giving him the chance to do it. Even though they had their little things out of the ring going back and forth. But when it was fight time, these dudes had a very pleasurable time when they were going through the promotional tour. And when it came down to it, it wasn't a matter of dollars and cents completely. And we knew Errol Spence got the majority of the money because it was a fight he didn't have to take either, but he did it. He did it for boxing. But wanted that legacy fight because he needs Errol Spence. And now he just thrown away everything. It's not just talk. We hear so many fighters just say things about and just say they want to fight a fighter that has a notable name or looks indestructible just to sound like they really want to get in there, but they don't do anything to make the fight. Bud said he wanted to fight Canelo, and now Bud fighting Canelo. I remember the nonsense Floyd was saying about Triple G, but there was no way in hell he was fighting Triple G at any moment.
Yeah. So while I'm giving credit, I saw Derek James on the podcast. It was a short clip, and these two guys were asking him what was wrong with Errol without actually saying what was wrong with Errol. And he refused. He's like, you want me to answer that question, and I'm not. That would be taken away from Bud Crawford's performance. He's like,
yeah,
I don't know what you're trying to get at, but all credit to Terrence Crawford. He deserves all the credit. And that shows a lot of class on Derek James' part because
absolutely.
A lot of trainers would be like, oh,
always
in camp we had this situation. He's still feeling some aches and pains from the accident 2 years ago. They could have came up with all kind of excuses. But Derek James, to his credit, he's like, I'm not really answering that question. Credit to Bud Crawford.
Yep, we're all of these years out since their fight, and you hadn't heard anything adverse of someone taking the credit. I mean, people who are involved. You have social media warriors that's going to always say what they say. But yeah, you haven't heard it from Derek James. You haven't heard it from anybody else. Even Errol Spence is not making the excuses for the few times that he does speak. And, it was a legitimate win because it would take away something from Bud if you were to say something like that. And boxing is notorious for it. Everybody giving credit one day, and then after 24 hours of thinking about it, the credit kind of turns into an excuse. I remember Shane Mosley did that at one point. I can't remember who he was fighting. I think it was Miguel Cotto. When he fought Miguel Cotto, it was the excuses. I mean, giving him credit and everything the day of the fight, the night of the fight, the best man won. And then the next day, all of these stories popping out of the damn woodwork, and it just took away from what had just happened. And boxing is that part of boxing is the gutter sport. The business part and that part is the gutter sport. The actual balletic part.
But it's not just boxers. You remember LeBron coming out with the cast on his hand after they got swept in Game 4. Oh, I got a wrist sprain or
Bro,
whatever.
man.
Come on, man. You got your ass swept. Shut the fuck up.
The Brock, Paul Pierce coming in the wheelchair. Oh God, man. These guys eat their way to the boxing conversation, man. Come with those damn excuses. But boxing's been notorious for decades over some type of excuse. Even Jordan Foreman, somebody put something in my water against Muhammad Ali. It's always damn something. His
Oh,
own
I didn't hear
trainer,
that.
talks
I
about
never
that
heard
later
that.
on. It's like, nah, that didn't happen. Yeah, he was talking about how somebody changes water during the fight and they put something in his water. He used that for a little while. And I was like, God, man, see, we don't know anything because we know there are shenanigans that happen in boxing. We know about Sonny Liston with Muhammad Ali the first time when he had the liniment on his arms, or on his gloves or his shoulders and burned his eyes in the 5th round. We know about those things happen in boxing. So I wouldn't be surprised that someone put something in there. And I remember when Angelo Dundee was talking about how those Muslims at ringside was looking at him like, yo, we're going to get you, man, if you don't come up with something. And he's like, he was putting the water in his own eyes to let them know, yo, I didn't put nothing in this damn thing, man. But it was on Sonny Liston's person, and it got on, Ali's eyes, and it went from there. But yeah, man, Bud, he hasn't made any excuses for. He's been knocked down before. He's been stunned before. And I know people talk about, they try to use this triangle theory every time it comes to Bud or someone they just don't like. See, he got knocked down by this guy. There's no way he's going to fight that guy and win. That nonsense like that. And you just can't say that when you have a fighter that talented, that diverse. He has so much in his tool chest. And, hey, boxing's a violent sport. You're probably going to get knocked down. You're probably going to get hurt. You're probably likely going to get hurt. Every freaking fighter worth his ass has been hurt in the boxing ring before. That's just the way it is.
Another
Canelo,
thing,
he's been hurt. He just hasn't shown it a whole lot.
Another thing I heard, I thought it's kind of strange, but I can't remember where I saw it, but they asked Canelo if Crawford is better than Mayweather, and he didn't hesitate. He's like, yes, he's better. I'm like, I don't know, but
now, how often do you?
Maybe he didn't even explain it, but if I'm trying to find a way for him to justify it, it would be with Bud's offense. Offensively, especially at 147. 140 and below, probably not. But at 147, Bud is better offensively, but not as good defensively.
Mayweather wasn't necessarily at 147 in particular. He wasn't necessarily an offensive fighter. He was defense that created his offense, and being a hell of a counterpuncher really helped out. He just had that innate ability to know that timing to make that counter work from him. And, and he just was able to make it easy, and he processed information so damn well. And he just was able to wipe dudes out, or even in close fights was still able to win. Like Maidana, he was still able to win that fight, even though if you just watched it while watching, I'm thinking, damn, Maidana's really giving it to him, man. And then to see how many punches Maidana actually did miss, not even going by punch stat, but having the chance to watch the fight over and see that he did miss a lot of shots I thought he hit him with. And Floyd still countering and being tough and not getting enough credit for being as tough as he was. I don't know. See, and another, I typically don't like asking fighters about other fighters, even if they fought before. They have that in common, because they're almost as delusional as they are when they freaking lose decisions they should have lost. These fighters, man, they didn't say anything sometimes.
Like Ike Cortez, he thought he got screwed on the judges' cards every fight. He lost.
Well, the De La Hoya fight, possibly, but I still think De La Hoya won that fight. A close fight, but I think
we're gonna have to watch that one and score it. I don't agree.
You know what? Well, you think De La Hoya lost that fight?
De La Hoya lost that fight.
Really?
Yeah.
You know what? We might have to watch that fight now. We're gonna have to watch that fight.
I think we're gonna have to watch it and score it round by round.
You know what? And that would be the first time watching that fight since it really happened. So that's legit. So that's not one of those fights I watched over and over to make sure that this is what happened. And the reason why I even brought this up, because Bud was asked a couple of days ago, I guess weeks ago, does he have Manny Pacquiao in his top 5? I guess he said no. Now, it's all subjective, but there are certain fighters, especially when you have contemporaries or quasi-contemporaries in his case, it's easy because you've watched it. And then he goes on to say, yeah, because Manny has done what no one's ever done before. He's come from this many weight classes. He's done this and that. So why is he not on your list? Then he says, you know why he's not on my list. And then he starts kind of insinuating the PEDs. Now, I know how boxing people are. They're fickle as hell and full of crap a lot of times. Bro, it was never proven that he had done it. At least with Ryan Garcia and at least with Canelo, there's stories and there's proof that these guys have used PEDs. And you just can't go by what you make
Not
anecdotal.
only that, when Mayweather was insinuating or basically came out and said he was on PEDs, Pacquiao's camp threatened to sue him, and he cut that talk off right quick.
Exactly. So all of these, and that happens a lot in boxing. And the people who watch boxing, they kind of like that caricature of those people as well. They like to just point for things. It doesn't have to have any proof, and they'll use the typical "we all know, we don't know" because I'm still asking where. You know, they use the same excuses all the time. We all know he was using PEDs. Okay, where's your proof? Remember when he was just this little? Now he's this big. You know, nonsense. And that there is never really any proof. And then they start talking about Conti, you know, and all these other different people that had to do with the drug scenario, and all these dirty guys that sold drugs to other athletes, and he's on the list, you know, like he's on the baseball list. You know, but anyway, but Bud didn't have him on his top 5, and that was the only reason why. And Bud's doing a lot of what
I
they're
would be
doing.
willing to bet that most of those guys saying that will not acknowledge or pretend they don't know that LeBron's camp is connected to Conti, that his wife got busted.
Whose wife got busted?
LeBron's wife.
I didn't hear about that. What happened?
You don't know about that?
No, what happened? It might have slipped my mind.
They were implicated with Conti, whatever the name of his I don't know if it was Belco, if it was a new company.
Yeah, I think he had other companies too. Yeah.
It's common knowledge. She was supposedly helping other people get it, but LeBron, he's all natural. LeBron's natural.
He's like Evan Fields.
My wife's
Evan Fields in the house.
My wife's hooking up players in the league, but not me.
Holy crap. See, didn't Peyton Manning have something like that going on as well? And I know Bill Romanowski and his wife had something going on with that. So they get these wives involved, man. Like straw buyers in the mortgage business.
You know, somebody's got to take the fall for the hero.
And the wife, she fought. She was standing by her man.
Otani's interpreter.
Man, bro, Tommy's interpreter.
Otani, Shohei Otani.
See, yeah, right. I forgot about that, man, and it just happened. They was talking nonsense there. I don't know, man. I mean, looking at the way he's killing things, you know, pitching and hitting still. I don't know. The jury's still out on him. And you think in baseball, even though there's been players getting busted, you know, recently.
No, it wasn't for Pez. It was for gambling.
Well, that was the gambling, yeah. But I'm talking about going back to the drug use in baseball, period. Players is still getting caught on these, you know, getting banned for 80 games or whatever they're getting banned for PED
I don't know, guys. I mean, baseball's a long season, but a 60, 75 game suspension, that's
not paid.
Yeah, that's a suspension for your ass, man.
Oh, hell yeah, man. That thing drips into the next season. It depends on when you get caught.
Right.
If you get caught in freaking June or July, forget about it. It's over. But yeah, man. But, you know, originally talking about Bud not having Pacquiao on his list, I mean, and using that as the reason, that means without that being the speculation, you have him on your list. So, yeah. And you know, you hear people ask who had the better career, Pacquiao or Mayweather. And you have to really think about it. I was like, damn, Mayweather, obviously, because Pacquiao's part of Floyd Mayweather's undefeated record. But then you look at the types of fighters that Pacquiao fought. He fought everybody, any place, anywhere, almost any weight class, because he had the catch weights. But Floyd also fought catch weights. He fought Canelo on the catch weight. He brought it down to 152 when he was already having issues making weight at 154.
And how many times have you heard Pacquiao say, I'm an 8 division champ. I beat these guys. I beat this many champions.
Talk about it.
Exactly. Because he already knows his accomplishments. He's comfortable with what he's done. What do you hear Floyd say? I beat the most champs in history. I did this. I did that. I'm TBE. Motherfucker, you ain't TBE, and he knows it.
He knows it. Floyd, he's one of those, he needs assurances. He needs to be reassurance. He needs to have the yes men around him. And you can see the personality. It's so easy to see that he has this personality issue. And his fanboys, of course, they'll fight tooth and nail about it, but it's pretty obvious that he has to take pictures with the money. He has to take pictures of all the belts. And if you break it down, he talks about it's never been done before. And I always said, and I keep pointing to the same thing, when you have Henry Armstrong, who had all three belts simultaneously with the featherweight, lightweight, and welterweight titles. If you were to break it down to today's fighting with the hybrid classes as well, then you still talk about 126, 130, 135, 140, 147, 154, even up to Serafin Garcia at 160, where they robbed him and gave him a draw, and then put 3 or 4 belts on each one of those classes that he won. Now he has more belts than Floyd. Now what? Those dudes years ago, as I've said before, when there was one champ, now we have 4 champs and the dominant champ. So that means those other 3 in the past would have been just ranked number 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, and 3. The champ would have been the champ, and those guys would have been ranked just 1, 2, and 3. That's it. But now they're champs.
Right. I don't know. We've talked about it a bunch of times.
Watered down, man.
Definitely. It's kind of like expansion in the NBA.
Watered down. Exactly. It's expansion. It's watered down. So now, not to the extent of people saying Bill Russell was that good, because there were fewer teams and all that talent that was in that one league. That's not like that. You just have a lot more talented people that are fitting into some of these when it expanded that was still there and great enough to still be great with these expansion teams coming in, because there were just so many great players out there. It wasn't that they probably weren't good enough to be in that league. It's probably that that league just sometimes you just can't have them in. You just can't have them in because all the spots are taken. And then when they do come, they become the stars they become. And you can't say that it's because of their talent. It was because they just didn't have enough teams. Everybody can't freaking play if you don't have enough teams.
That's true.
But either way, man, and I don't know, Floyd, looking at his record, and his fanboys are insufferable. They're almost as bad as Tyson. Matter of fact, whatever. But to say that he fought everybody, look at the time in which he had fought him. He never fought Paul Williams, who I thought would have been an absolute nightmare of a matchup. A dude who threw a lot of punches, was southpaw, had some pop, and 6'1", and he was just terrorizing from 147 to 160. He could, wherever the fight was, he was going because he wanted his opportunity. Never got it. I think he would have been a nightmare for Floyd, stylistically.
Yeah, that reminds me. They asked Terrence Crawford, "How do you beat Floyd Mayweather?" He said, "You think I'm going to tell you?" And everybody laughed. He goes, "No, you probably need 4 arms, 6 eyes." And then you talking about Paul Williams. It was like Paul Williams had 4 arms. He was throwing so many punches.
He was throwing so
many different angles. They're coming from everywhere.
He got hit pretty easily, but Floyd was no threat to really hurt you. He could stun you because he has that sharpness and he has that awareness while being sharp, which is crazy. You could be throwing punches in the 8th or 9th round, and Floyd still hit you with that sharp shot, make you think twice about it. But Paul Williams, and don't use the Martinez fight as the reason why he would have lost to Floyd. Floyd doesn't hit anybody with that kind of shot that Martinez hit him with.
Floyd, even at Martinez the weight, he didn't have no one-hitter quitters.
Nah, and at 160-pound, bro, that I remember looking forward to that fight, and man, and to see it, and they were both getting at it early too, and it ended early too because of that one shot. And that dude was down there snoring. I was like, bro, what the hell just happened here?
Yeah.
Short-circuited.
I don't even like seeing the highlight of that fight. I mean, since he became a paraplegic.
Yeah, right. And just forget about that part because, damn, people might, you think about it sometimes. You hear about fighters dying, and some of these fighters that are paralyzed, how they're dying because, you get those blood clots from the lack of mobility, and it just travels to your lung or your brain, and something happens, man. Every now and then you see a fighter or hear about a fighter passing away. You hope it is not him, or you just hope it's not any damn body, but you just have your own guys that you're familiar with. You don't want it to happen to them. And for Paul Williams, man, God, man, he's not going to get into the Hall of Fame, and they're not going to give him the sympathy vote. His trajectory was certainly Hall of Fame qualified, but fighting Mayweather would have been something else. I'm serious, because he just threw so many punches. He was fearless because he didn't care what you threw back.
But we were talking about excuses earlier. I actually saw a video of Victor Ortiz.
Victor Ortiz, I've heard too many of his excuses, man.
Well,
This guy.
I don't know if it was an excuse, but he was like, yeah, you know, I headbutted him, so I'm trying to apologize. I'm saying I'm sorry. And you know, I tell him one more time, I'm sorry. Next thing I know, pop, and I'm on the ground. He's like, man, that's bullshit.
What were you expecting? You dirty ass fighter.
Once you headbutt somebody, you best protect yourself at all times.
For real.
Like, just because you apologize, that don't mean that motherfucker ain't trying to come get your ass.
And you want to have a Barney's freaking hug fest. Come on, man. He was like, yo, nah, enough of this. Caught him. And besides that, you know, he was doing a lot of wild fighting early on, and it looks like he was winning the fight, but that fight wasn't long enough for him to really, you know, for Floyd to even process what he was going to do for the rest of the fight.
He probably would have gotten tired the way he was trying to.
Oh, yeah. Yeah,
he would have been tired by the 6th or 7th, and it would have been over.
And Floyd would have picked him off like he did a lot of these other guys who started off early trying to go hard, like Ricky Hatton. And I remember Ricky Hatton's people were saying how his fans in particular were talking about how the ref didn't let Ricky do what he needed to do. What, the elbow and all that crap he did to Cautious Zoo that made him retire with bleeding on his brain? You're not allowed to do all that crap. They upset about it. He wasn't allowed to fight his fight.
The worst one was Angel Manfredi talking about politics.
Yeah, but I still think that was an early stoppage.
Man, he was on the ropes getting his head bounced all over the place. Man, that was not an early stoppage.
A standing 8 would have been good. I wanted to see more because I thought Manfredi had something
more. Floyd was getting in his ass, man. That fight was over, bro.
Floyd still beats him. But remember, Angel Manfredi was pretty damn good back then, man. I wanted to see a little bit more. But just like I think that when Julian Jackson fought Mike McCallum, I thought that was an early stoppage. I hear some people saying, no, it wasn't an early stoppage. I was like, man, he was clear-headed. He was asking the ref, what? He's clear-headed enough to do that. And he did it hurt Mike McCallum.
I probably have to see that one again.
Yeah, I watched it. I was like, man, I think it was now he probably would have still gotten knocked out now that we know what we know about him with him not being able to take a punch so well. Maybe Mike McCallum gets him against the ropes and just does it again. And probably, against Joe McClellan, he did it there. Got knocked down, got back up.
There was no early stoppage there.
No early stop. That was just stoppage. And that was it. But yeah, man. But I mean, hell, I don't even know how we were going to transition to talking about Floyd and looking at his 50-0 record. And I mean, 49-0 really when you look at
47-2. Because he should have been disqualified against Azab, and Castillo outright beat him.
Going by the rules of boxing, he should have been. Because once your corner gets in the ring, that's
if you're wondering why 47-2, that's only 49, because Conor McGregor never had a boxing match before. You can't add that to his record.
That's just boxing.
Find the guy 0-0. Come on, man. That was not a real boxing match.
And then they claim he had some amateur boxing experience. I was like, well, come on, now you're gonna just give this guy amateur boxing experience? And even if that was the case, he had 3 or 4 fights. How the hell is that supposed to be up there with Floyd? Come on, man. Floyd had all these damn fights. What, 96-5 as an amateur? And then he goes in there 49-0. Man, come on, they shouldn't even been on the same planet. But
just look at the end of Floyd's career. Conor McGregor and Andre Berto.
Oh my God, Andre Berto was so shot by then.
Right, he was done for like.
I mean, Robert Guerrero made a mess of him. Robert Guerrero made a mess of him, and then he just wasn't the same fighter. He looked like one of them Simpson characters after he got spoiled up so badly, and then he.
It was like he was just fighting just to get to 50-0, and people want to suck his dick for that. Fuck you.
Yep, a record is a record. That's what they look at. And, and I was like 50-0 is where he retired. But what about Chavez going past 50-0? What about El Finito going past 50-0? Well, he's 51-0-1.
Yeah, and that's frustrating because that fight ended in a draw. He didn't have a chance to go out and win it.
Yeah.
He got stopped early.
So, and then let me see who else. Shoot. There's been a number of fights.
He won the rematch. So
yeah, he won the rematch. Did he knock him out?
I don't think he knocked him out. That dude was a bad little dude too, man. I don't think he knocked him out.
Yo, anytime I think about bad little dudes, man, Michael Carbajal, bro.
I was Michael freaking Carbajal. Little hands of stone.
Yeah, bro, him and Chiquita Gonzalez, man. Oh, man, those dudes put on a freaking fight for the ages. Chiquita was getting his ass in that first fight, man. And then he came back and won. I was like, yo, that was
Yeah.
the fight of the year. That
I
was the
think
ringside fight of the year.
that's one of the top 5 comebacks of all time, man. That's up there
Oh,
with
easily,
Corrales
because
and Steele.
he was getting and I like that it had a lot of hype going into that fight because the little dudes normally didn't get that kind of hype.
Yeah.
He was the first flyweight to get $1 million.
I think it
And,
was the
I
War
remember,
by the Shore, they called it, maybe.
shoot, I
That
can't
might
remember
have
what
been
the
a
hell they
different
called.
fight. I don't know. But
I just know there was 2 badasses when they got it because Chiquita
yeah.
Gonzalez was damn good. And I'm
I
glad
think
he's on Super Bowl now.
that was my first time seeing Chiquita fight, and I was like, man, this dude's pretty good.
He was ass kicking, and I'm glad that he got a business now in Mexico doing his thing. He got some meat company. He's making nothing. He's not like a lot of the other boxers who
Does
have
he
nothing.
sell the Canelo?
See, now he's gonna sue us now. Yo, man, my meat is 100%. What the hell? There's not no PEDs in this joint. But yeah, man, I like that fight. Was a hell of a fight. I saw Michael Carbajal at the Boxing Hall of Fame back in 2011. Drunk as freaking hell, man. And I remember he walks over to the table with myself and Bert Sugar and some guys from the University of North Florida's boxing club. And he comes over drunk as hell. He tells Bert, I don't like you. And Bert looks at him like, what's going on? You do nothing but say wrong things. You just write bad things about me. He said, you've been lying about me. He said, what did I say? He just kept saying things. He said, you're a liar. You lie about me all the time. He said, yeah, I tell everybody you're sober. And it took him a minute to get it. And then he gets it. He pats on the back. You're a good guy. And he walks away.
That's funny.
It was crazy, man, because then Vinny Pazienza was sitting right across from us. And then this is before Aaron Pryor passed away, so he was up there too. Man, it was a good damn time, man. But Michael Carbajal, I've always liked that dude. I watched him in the Olympics. I knew he would be a champ. Even though he had a silver medal, I was like, yo, this dude's going to get it, man. And in the Hall of Fame, he went where he deserved.
Shoot, yeah, anyway. I mean, he was a fan favorite because down at those lower weight classes, you don't find guys getting a lot of knockouts like he was getting. And he brought thunder, man. So he had a lot of fans, and he was fun to watch.
He had a freaking heart, man.
Most guys down there, it's just pity pat, pity pat, pity pat, pity pat. They throw way more punches than larger fighters, but not a lot of power, not a lot of knockouts.
Nah, he tried to hurt you every punch.
Carbajal came around, he was different.
Yeah, he came on trying to hurt you with every damn punch, man. The one thing I don't like, man, is how his life kind of turned out a little bit after boxing, that he and his brother fell off. Those dudes used to be so close, man. You hear all the stories about him, working in his corner. And now they fell off, man. So I don't know if they got him back together, man. But the way they fell off, man, you thought that bond couldn't be broken, man. And I'm like, that's God, man, I hate when it ends like that. But that's the way it seems right now. But Carbajal's always going to be one of my favorite dudes out there, man. A little dude. And he's a taller dude than I expected. I was like, damn, man, you're pretty damn tall. They said 5'5", man. I don't know about that. But anyway.
You think he was taller?
Yeah, I thought he was taller. Even though I was sitting down, when he came over, I was just kind of stunned. I knew him right away. You can see the scar tissue over his eye. And I looked at him, I was like, damn. Shit, we better bounce up out of here, man. This dog is in there trying to trip on me.
All right.
But anyway, let's try to get up out of here. This internet trying to trip out on me just at the right time, though. We about to bounce up out of here and see what we can get out of this. So Monday will be showing up before you know it. This Saturday, Sunday, I guess, whatever these preseason games happen, will be the last preseason game for the 2025 off season. It gives these teams a chance, extra time to find out which players they want to get rid of and give them a chance to latch on with other teams. We'll get to see all of that news. Shedeur Sanders is supposed to be getting the start. He got over his oblique injury. Kenny Pickett is going to be sitting out. Joe Flacco's been named the starter for the season, just as Daniel Jones in Indianapolis has been named the starter over Anthony Richardson, which is no freaking surprise. It shouldn't be, at least. But anyways, we'll have all of this kind of coming back to haunt us come on Monday. He's Bias, I'm Trav, and the Sports Back Bros podcast will be showing up again in a couple of days. But until then, deuces.
Adios.